Welcome back to the Amazon EU Masters for the summer final. Corp versus Fnatic. Rising Corp to game 1, but I don't know what to expect for the rest of the series because they surprised us against Misfits Premier. I'm waiting to see if they can do it today again.
Are you okay?
What does your heart tell you? Because your heart was right last time.
I'm doing great, guys. Spain without S, I'm doing fine.
Minus the throw, I think they can do it.
Minus the throw, fair enough. You know what? I'll take that one.
We'll take that one. We'll see what kind of improvement we are looking at here in game 2. We were talking about the draft quickly before. Before we jump into Champ Select, what kinds of bans maybe are you expecting on the side of Fnatic Rising this time around, Dagda?
Yeah, I think, well,
right now, actually.
But I think definitely, I actually like Fnatic Rising fans. I think you stick LeBlanc, Lee Sin, Xin Zhao, and then you always got the opportunity if you want to well, take the Jarvan for yourself, because Karmine Corp, they're going to stick with this this Nidalee ban, but with Fnatic Rising on the red, I'm kind of in a position where I'm like, okay, well, do you end up just seeing this Jarvan lock in again? And then you're like, well, what do you pick as an early game jungler as an answer?
So far, same bans. Trouble.
Yeah, I'm looking to see if possibly, like Dagda said, Fnatic Rising are going to choose to take the Jarvan away. I feel like it was a big problem for the backline. Or maybe you pivot and you take away the Ezreal yourself, which allows Bean to play a little bit more freely on the backline. But then you're going to have to deal with the Varus because xMatty is going to take theirs.
We're already seeing the Xin Zhao taken, so we had the Jarvan first pick last time. I do also think, like, Varus, a very big pick still. I'm actually surprised we didn't get the Aphelios coming through in the last draft. I thought we'd actually see that instead of the Ezreal, but we'll have to see what the plan is. I think Fnatic Rising stick to the Varus. I don't want to see the Viego here again. I just think you lack the early control and the control in team fights that I think was the big issue for Fnatic Rising.
But you still want to lock in a jungler, I think, Trouble. Which one we may be looking at here?
I like the Viego. I want to see it locked in again. I possibly don't want to see Dajor speak right here. I would prioritize maybe something like Pride's Gangplank. I feel like he's much stronger playing something like this. Obviously, it's not the greatest when it goes towards the Jarvan, but I felt like the early game on the Gnar was a little bit shaky. Pride's Gangplank is one of the strongest picks that he has in his hand. And like I mentioned in the post show, I'm like, if you want to run it back, run it back.
And we were running it back right now.
Really down to the execution, and Fnatic Rising think so themselves. I mean, they were 5k ahead in the first game.
Yeah, I was about to say production. Can we get confirmation this is actually game 2?
This is game 2?
It's the exact same.
Is this a replay?
Look, I mean, I think you're still going to run into the same issues here, right? I mean, you can still take a strong engage support coming through. On the Karmine Corp side, you're still able to prevent that 1-3-1, because I imagine we might see, well, no, never mind, something like the Renekton band away, taking away some of these strong solo laners, top laners coming through for Fnatic Rising, but they're not interested. So we've got the Bard. Last time was the Rakan as well, coming through for Fnatic Rising, and it's been GP and Jason Karmine Corp side, so I mean maybe we literally run it back.
Yeah, we'll see about these last bans. Yeah. Rakan again. Are we looking into seeing a Chase ban once again? But I mean, yeah, if you want to prevent Pride from doing what he does best, you want to bind the GP and the Jace, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. I think these are two of his most comfortable champions, especially the Gangplank, and it creates havoc in the entire team fight that Karmine Corp want to throw towards Fnatic Rising. Now, the thing is, Fnatic Rising want to run back the same composition where they played extremely aggressive on. My issue here is like, Karmine Corp saw how you played in game 1. They're going to be extremely more cautious when it comes to Cabochard and how many times you dived him. So maybe the pivoting factor is what Cabochard is going to choose to play on the top side of the map. Never mind.
I honestly, I think you've hit on a really strong point, Trouble. I think from this, what I've seen is that, like, hey, look, you had the overextension in mid lane from level 3 where they were able to punish with Rhuckz roaming on the Leona. We got these plays towards Cabochard on the top side of the map as well, which you can now try and avoid as Cabochard, because a lot of that was, hey, he's going to ward, Twisted Fate pops in alongside MAXI, then they're picking him off. So I feel like if you're just going to run this back as Karmine Corp, you're like, okay, we are aware now how quickly this Twisted Fate can come across. We cannot just rely on SAKEN to kind of cover him with the Ryze. We need to play this a little bit slower in the early stage.
They're trolling us. There's no way they're not trolling us right now.
They're trolling us. It's just a replay of game 1. I feel.
I'll just write like one big arrow on my notes. Game 2. Perfect. There we go.
Same composition. So we know how it went the first time around. We knew about the dives all on every side of the map. We saw that Karmine was able to adapt in the mid game and capitalize on what Fnatic Rising couldn't do. Do you expect more from Fnatic Rising and maybe more dives or more or a well-organized dive this time around?
I'm expecting a lot more calculated aggression coming out from Fnatic Rising, especially when it comes to bot lane. Being was known for the 1v2s that he would pull onto the Varus. He missteps, gives a lot of advantage to xMatty. I don't expect him to do that again. When it comes to the top side of the map, Corp are going to have to deal somehow with Dajor, because we saw how many waves he did just to make sure that himself and Pride get ahead and Cabochard gets pushed to the side. So I want to see how Corp are going to adjust to play around this time.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of this is going to be a case of, hey, look, let's try and manage our wave a little bit better in the mid lane so we're not falling prey to the level 3 that came through from Rhuckz. Let's try and set ourselves up where we can actually protect Cabochard a lot more. I think it'll be a foot off the gas pedal for the LFL representative, whereas just doubling down for Fnatic Rising.
Well, running the same comps, we'll see if they run into the same issues. We're leading into Game 2, Summer Final EU Masters start right now.
Run it back, run it back, run it back, run it back! Welcome, one and all. We are going into Game 2, which might as well have been Game 1 because we had the exact same picks, the exact same bans. Honestly, we were talking about this in the thing. The only thing we might have changed would have been that pick for Pride, but I honestly, for both these teams, I love these drafts.
Definitely, and you know what? I really think that it wasn't too much about the early game necessarily. I think Fnatic actually had, despite some of the issues where there were some skirmishes towards the top side, Pride falling a bit behind, they were ahead in the early game. Like that 5k gold lead, it was on them to play the map. What I want to see from Fnatic really, and I want to bring up later, if it happens again, is really what are you going to do once you start having to take care of the side lane wave management, because that was clearly a weak point. Every time they opened up the map, Corp just collapsed in the mid lane, and they picked off overextended members of Fnatic, and I want to see you as Fnatic to be able to control your gold lead rather than just running around being a bit flustered on the map.
And the big problem that we saw Fnatic Rising when it hit that mid game was they were holding up too many spinning plates. They were going for the top lane turret, they were going for Rift Herald, the dive on mid, and it's like, just calm down, bring yourselves back, get your objectives, get your advantages, but don't overstretch yourself.
Yeah, and so far, as we obviously already talked about here, Penguin, we do have the same composition, but looking as to where the junglers are starting, it's looking very much the same as well with this jungle pathing. So Cinkrof, he is going to get a leash on the Jarvan. He is going to be making his way up towards the top side of the map, up towards with MAXI. He is starting towards top side, and he is going to be pathing down towards the bot side. So junglers here just, you know, once again, handshaking the Scuttle contest later as well.
Well, again, Game 1. We don't need to talk about this. We can do no, I'm not going to say silence because that would just be really weird and awkward for everybody. But again, it's about how we wanted to, you know, see how this game now kind of progresses with this run-it-back composition, because we saw solo kills on the bot side. Bean thought he had xMatty, but he outplayed him, and then Bean stuck himself into a bush and then outplayed it, you know, xMatty. There was so much going on there, and there was, as well as that, a lot of misexecution as well between a lot of players. You know, overstaying, overstepping, just going a bit too close. I imagine now, after that first run, you're going to be a little bit safer now knowing the ranges.
Definitely, but some adaptation has already come through here. Last time, 2 minutes into the game, it was actually Cabochard in the top side who was pushing in Pride. This time around, Pride has taken control over the wave, which means that he can now crash this wave. A minion wave will start to build up on the Cabochard's tower, and because of this, it's going to slow push back towards Pride, where he doesn't have to worry about the pathing of Cinkrof off towards the top side.
I think Cabochard had a little bit burned from that last game. He got put down by Fnatic Rising. They've invested so many teleports, so much pressure, and it means that he has to play a little bit safer so he doesn't end up in that big hole again.
Yeah, definitely. Now, looking at the junglers again, you can see Cinkrof. He was trying to scout out MAXI. He expected him to still be at the red buff, but now, with SAKEN having mid lane priority, they're out moving around. There is a ward from Pride, and they're not going to get much more out of this situation. And once again, that's why it was so important that Pride got that crash down, because he was able to move back into position where he wasn't set up for a dive because of a stacked minion wave, and he wasn't overextended either in the middle of the lane.
And as well as that, the small little moments that do lead to the plays was that because of that push in topside, we see what Karmine Corp were trying to do. They were saying, look, you have to push in, you have to overextend, maybe we get a quick kill early. Wasn't able to happen. Because of that, Cinkrof's now behind on the camp clear. He's a little bit falling behind, and now we might see it happening on the bot side.
Yeah, definitely. Now it's Fnatic with the pressure, and MAXI is down here. There is still cleanse on MAXI, and minion wave really not that big.
They're not that big, but they're going to go for it anyway. Flash away. xMatty in a lot of trouble. Targamas gets stunned up, but they are still underneath their tower. xMatty loses both his summoners. All it cost was the ignite from Rhuckz. That is a win for Fnatic Rising.
That definitely is a win now, but now SAKEN gets to push in the mid lane. Cinkrof gets to move up towards the top side. And I'm not too sure how big this minion wave actually is being pushed in.
Pretty big.
And there is a TP from SAKEN, so he can recall now and start TPing up towards the top side.
Dajor does have his TP as well. They're going to try and go for this one. 2 TPs going to be used. No Targamas to stop this one. And again, we see both TPs in the top side. And again, it's almost identical to game 1.
But this is like perfect for best of 5 scenario as well, because we usually talk about, okay, how do we actually adapt? But now we get the same exact compositions, and you can already see the adaptation this time around. Targamas pushed away in the bot side. No one to commit the dive on Fnatic, so theoretically speaking, this early game should be going better for Fnatic if everything still outlines the same way as game 1.
What if, you know, that this is literally a what if situation. Like, but what if this worked? What if that didn't go badly? What if this ended up happening this way? So we get our what if in this series, and the mini meta as such, it might not even change. It depends on if people want to change sides or not. But for Fnatic Rising, much more tempered early game from both sides, both waiting to see if they can capitalize, like you said, on the adaptations.
For all we know, this might be the same draft we get throughout the entire evening. This could be the finals of the European Masters, decided by 10 champions, all the same.
It sounds great, but at the same time, that kind of sounds like hell. Just like, it's like, you know, you just relive the same game over and over and over again. But again, execution is a big thing, and is on Fnatic Rising to make this composition work. If you lose again, you go 0-2 down against Karmine Corp after running the composition twice in a row, you can't do it again. You're just not going to have it in you.
Definitely, but now you can already see what Karmine Corp does so well with pressure. Bot lane is pushed in, Cinkrof down towards the bot side. They're gaining control of Fnatic's jungle right now, and they're scouting.
They're looking for him, but Cinkrof has been spotted out. Dajor with a little bit of a sixth sense there as MAXI taking off his raptors, or excuse me, his wolves, I should say, as Cinkrof going to back himself away. And Rhuckz moving in as well. So again, good response here for Fnatic Rising, saying we're not just going to give it away, we're going to make sure that we are covering ourselves so we don't get caught out.
Yeah, definitely. And you can still see that it is Corp pulling the trigger here in this early game. We've seen it from them in game 1, but Fnatic, they're coming through with better responses now. Now, remember, the time we started seeing Fnatic come online was when this level 6 was hit. And they are now pushing in the mid lane, just hit that Destiny, MAXI down towards the bottom side. We could see them try to commit some plays.
Pride almost has his Mega Gnar bar as well, so they may go towards the bot side or top side. They've got themselves a couple of different options. You can see Cabochard trying to push out this wave as best he can and keep himself safe. They will be aware that Realm Warps and Destiny Gates will be available throughout the thing, and not only that, but Dajor's got himself the Summoner, the Unsealed Spellbook, and he's got himself an Ignite.
I've seen this move before though, bot lane priority into MAXI and Rhuckz moving in towards the mid lane, but it looks like they're just gonna get control of the bottom side of the map to potentially set up a Drake or try to go for an invade on Cinkrof's red buff that just respawned.
And again, very tempered from both these sides. I say that, Cabochard taking a lot of punishment here. Pride recognizing he's now playing the weak side. He cannot push up. He's going to back himself away in the bush. And again, just more and more pressure coming down. But it's at the end of the day, Fnatic Rising getting the dragon.
Yeah, but you can still see Corp continuously looking for these plays. Fnatic Rising now being more reserved, now being more used to this aggression up from Corp, is actually adapting to the situation. It's so beautiful to watch these two teams go against each other when they play champions like this.
But it's, well, this looks like two different teams. We went from a kill a minute in game 1 to, all right, shake hands, nobody do anything, let's just trade sides of the map. This is just showing the versatility of Karmine Corp and Fnatic Rising, being able to play the exact same champions and look like a completely different game.
Definitely, and I think Fnatic Rising, the call out they might have gotten from D-Lord in their coach might have been, all right guys, that was way too aggressive in the early game, that mid game. Yeah, exactly. Time to find the picks once we have that level 6, and that's what we're looking for Fnatic Rising right now, because we saw what ended up happening in game 1. Corp kept the aggression coming through, they kept finding the correct plays, and Fnatic, they just got steamrolled in the end despite having such a good early game. So from them now, we still want to see them be proactive. You don't want to drop the ball, you want to be willing to pull the trigger.
Very tense start here as we see Pride going to find Cabochard, both going with the early steel caps, so having a little bit of auto attack resistance as we see now Targamas on a little bit of a roam of his own, but everyone from Karmine Corp stacking towards this Rift Herald. There is a ward on this for Fnatic Rising, so they know it's being taken. It's about how they want to respond, and right now it looks like they're going to try and respond from the mid lane and push themselves up.
Yeah, definitely. You can also see the AD carries moving up right now on the minimap, and it looks like MAXI here is going to be first, but they're taking it slow.
Very, very tempered. No one wants to make a mistake. Shelly will get her reset. She's like, all right, you're off my lawn. I have no beef with you, and goes back in to her nice hidey hole. But important to recognize, the reason why Karmine Corp had to back away from that is Bean had push in bot, they had push in mid, and they had push in top. So the priority was theirs. Karmine Corp would have lost too much if they didn't respond.
Yeah, definitely. You're completely correct about this one. And now with resets coming through, be interesting to see if the resets are actually coming through, but where this pressure point of attack is going to be again, because right now towards the bottom side of the map for K-Corp, there's not a lot of supportive vision. MAXI is clearing out the bot side, and obviously with Dajor having that Destiny, could try and look for something, but it looks like it's still very tempered.
It is very tempered. You can even see on the minimap there, you had SAKEN roaming in, seeing if they were going for that exact play that you were talking about. So nothing going to happen, but this wave has crashed in. Bean will take a turret shot for his little bit of a piercing arrow onto xMatty, and now we're seeing a much different game unfolding in front of our eyes. Very, very even across the board, a 200 gold lead, but it is Cinkrof starting off this Rift Herald now as he saw the resets.
Yeah, but it is spotted out by a ward, or at least it should be spotted out by a ward here, and therefore you can see MAXI joining in the mid lane. Pride is also on his way, and Destiny has been popped.
Oh, they're going to go for SAKEN, who's forced to flash. No summoner now on that mid laner, and this feels an awful lot like now, after the first 10 minutes, it was all Karmine Corp looking for opportunities, and now with those ultimates available, Fnatic Rising feels stronger, they feel confident.
Yeah, this is great, just because you burned the Destiny, it's not a huge engage tool. Rhuckz still has his Solar Flare as well, so if SAKEN were to join up with this fight, he'd just get CC chained down immediately.
And as well, you look at the minimap as well, you had the push from Bean. He moved up, he was there first. It would have been an odd number skirmish as xMatty had to answer this wave.
You're completely correct about that, Penguin. So once again, Bean with this Varus pick, really paying its dividends, and it's affecting the rest of the map that he's able to get this priority. And also another matter of fact is that xMatty, he's had to run with the cleanse because he is up against the Leona, he is up against the Varus. And because of this, Bean will always have the 1v1 advantage, just because he's got that extra heal to outduel xMatty.
Unless, like we saw in game one, xMatty just absolutely...
Okay, that was a sick outplay, and that should not be how it goes every time.
I just want to put I want to put some respect on the name, xMatty played exceptional in that 1v1 in game one, and this is fantastically tempered from both sides. 11 minutes, still yet to see the first blood, but it is Fnatic Rising, pushing, prodding, and getting himself forward. Now, though, with SAKEN having that lost chapter, being able to get that extra little bit of AP, he's pushing in those waves an awful lot more consistently.
But you can just see the puzzle pieces moving around the map. Every time a mid lane has been pushed in, roam into a side lane. Where's the jungler? Are we committing to a play here? And you can see it's always where the jungler is. If Cinkrof is towards the bot side of the map, SAKEN will move down towards the bot side to commit. And now, with Dajor getting some priority in the mid lane, they can look to go up towards the top side of the map, where MAXI is also waiting around, unless Dajor gets caught, but he's out.
He's out, but he's thinking about it. He is going to walk himself forward. MAXI is here, and now Cabochard in a little bit of an isolated 1v3. Does have a slice, gets himself out nicely and easily. So, again, more posturing, more ideas being thrown. Nothing quite sticking just yet, but Fnatic Rising are answering. They need to be a little bit careful. They know SAKEN's just sitting here. They are going to pop the Rune Prison onto MAXI. Ignite goes down. Dajor, he's 1v2ing right now. They're going to commit the TP, and now it's a native 3v3. You can see in the minimap both supports roaming up. They're just ships in the night looking at each other, but nobody goes down.
Fnatic all of a sudden got really hungry. They remembered SAKEN had no flash, so the TP was expended, but didn't really bring you anything. But now with this pressure, it just looks like they want to start up the Drake.
They want to start it up, and they are going to start it up. So Fnatic Rising will put themselves onto 2 Drakes. There is a Rift Herald, not for a very long time, so still waiting to see where that one goes. And actually, still waiting to see the first Rift Herald being dropped down here by MAXI. And now Fnatic Rising, they have themselves a little bit of an advantage. Not gold-wise, but definitely objective-wise.
Yeah, but the problem is for Fnatic right now that whenever you want to commit on a play down towards the bottom side of the map now, there's a TP advantage for Capo. So yes, you can join with this Rift Herald, but they need to be careful of this TP from Capo.
They need to be careful. It looks like they're respecting it already. The TP is very, very deep. They're already picking out. They know exactly where it is, and Capo's going to be by himself. He has flash. He has himself locked up gold card as well as the stun. He knocks himself back forward. No, that's not where you want to be. That's not where you want to go. They're going to use the Realm One as a little bit of a fake, but it's all for naught. First blood again for Dajor. Targamas goes forward, trying to get himself out now with the showstopper, but he will be fall and taken down. There's a fantastic ultimate there from Rhuckz to lock down SAKEN. They will not take him down as xMatty has arrived, and out of nowhere, Guldborg, this match has blown up 5v4, and it's a 2 for 4 in favor of the side of Karmine Corp.
And that's what happens when you opt in for an engage where it ends up being the 5v5. That's what we talked about. They needed to be careful about over-aggressing Fnatic, because yes, you are getting plates on Pride, and yes, you are getting CS, but it doesn't matter in the bigger picture just because of how much more you got on the other side of the map.
And again, you knew you didn't have the teleport, and that's why Karmine Corp kept throwing at the ball. They kept pushing forward because yes, you lose Cabochard here, but they've used everything to try and lock him down, the exhaust and all.
But I need to see what happened to MAXI's soul. It just seemed like he never really got to be another champion in this instance. I did see some of the resets to come through though, so there it is. There's no soul.
No, he doesn't get it.
But he had hit him. He had an assist. He's got an assist on Targamas as well. There's no soul. There's no soul for Okay, yeah.
Didn't get it. Just wasn't able to make it happen for him, and that meant that he does not get the resets, he does not get the kind of damage you would expect from the Renekton, and that means that it ends up being a 4 for 2 in favor of the side of Karmine Corp. They find the advantages after that fight.
Yeah, definitely. And now with the gold advantage, small gold advantage that Karmine have enabled for themselves, they should be able to still try and look for all of these things, because a lot of summoner spells were burned in that exchange as well. Dajor no longer having a flash, no longer having a stopwatch, being no flash either, so there's a lot of key targets that you can try and engage on here.
We'll say the 2 key targets having their flash for Karmine Corp are SAKEN and xMatty. They also have the cleanse on xMatty as well, so they've got some stuff there on their side. But like you said, no Bean, no Dajor, no MAXI. It's going to be very difficult to try and get themselves into this one here, as we do see Pride just pushing up this top side constantly and keeping even on CS. So Cabochard's doing his job. Cabochard is saying, look, I'll play weak side, I'll let you continuously push me up and I'll be under my turret, but I'm not going to lose out in this matchup because of that.
Nope, and here comes the Gnar. MAXI's up here as well, but I mean, Cabo, he's pretty used to deep dive by now, and it just seems like he's outmaneuvering them every time they get up towards this top side.
Well, it is Karmine Corp at the 15-minute mark with an advantage. They've got themselves about a 1,500 gold lead, and with SAKEN with that blue buff able to push out that mid lane pretty much constantly. We are waiting for 2 Divine Sunderers for Pride and MAXI just to be finished up. It will get them very, very soon, but a minute 45, we will have the dragon spawning here for Fnatic Rising. If they are able to get that objective, that will put them into the soul point position and create that win condition.
Yeah, definitely, but crucially right now, you take a look at the items. Mythics are obviously coming through from most of all the champions we have right now in Summoner's Rift, but more importantly, the summoner spells. Fnatic won't have all their summoner spells up for this fight. You take a look on Corp, flash on SAKEN, flash on MAXI, no flash on the Renekton and on the Jarvan, but they are the engage tools. They're the one who can get up and force the carries away from Fnatic Rising.
It'll be very close as well when that timer comes down to that those summoners being available to them. So we'll see how this one sets up. Fnatic Rising, the first one's on the scene as they got themselves a minute until that spawns, but they're not defending it. So right now it is going to be a very easy time for Cinkrof just to walk in, take away all of these pink wards that were dotted down, and then back himself away to the safety of his team.
And with this, you can always see Pride still not having his teleport. They're hovering, just shadowing should a fight break out towards the Drake, in case it does happen. But his teleport, it should be up, I believe, just before the Drake respawns, and that should give a slight advantage over to the side of Fnatic, just because Cabochard, I don't believe it'll come up in time for it.
I was going to say that Fnatic Rising might just opt out for this. They might say, look, you take the Dragon, we have 2 in the back pocket, you're nowhere near Soul, we will give you bot side of the map. xMatty will take the first tower of the game, and that means they're going to trade that one for the Rift Herald, try and crack open that mid, try and get themselves back into a pushing position so they can find these off-number skirmishes.
Definitely, but it does look like from the posturing we're getting here from Fnatic that they want to continue its Pride with a big stack wave pushing in the top side that Cabo has to respond to. His teleport is up in just a few seconds, and Drake hasn't even spawned yet. There he gets on the map, but priority can still be contested by Fnatic.
I mean, that Rift Herald's a little bit far away from the turret. It is going to take him very, very low. No one can really escort it just yet. It will finally get its bop off, but no, it won't. The smite comes down along with the hit on the eye. Pride, though, is very much close to Mega. So with these TPs available, with the ultimates available, there is a very, very keen little ward just sitting on top of Bean, and he does not know it at the moment. So Karmine Corp, I would say right now, are in the ascendancy. They're the ones pushing forward.
Yeah, and Fnatic, they're so split right now. They don't have the members combined.
Don't have it. There's a Destiny Gate. Pride is going to mega out. They're going to try and jump straight onto Cinkrof and try and burn him down. He flashes away. There's the gold card going down. They will catch out the jungler, and he falls, and that's going to be 2 quick kills as finally we get the resets. Targamas trying to play keep away as he gets the showstopper to try and get himself out, but he will not find himself a way out. He will fall and taken out 3 for 1 in favor of Fnatic Rising, and they have control of the Drake pit.
Yeah, great stuff from the side of Fnatic here. They actually get to stay alive with Pride, who outmaneuvers the CC, and they find the engage onto Cinkrof in the backline, and after that, it's just the resets to come through from MAXI, and once again, the Viego in these mid-game team fights really paying its dividends for Fnatic.
It really, really is, and now with that, an Infernal Soul point here for the side of Fnatic Rising. They will not see any kind of contest from Cabochard, and I'm curious to see how did SAKEN get caught out, because he still has his flash. He did not use that summoner, so he must have just been CC locked.
Yeah, I think it was a stun card that came through from Day or anything in that look, but you can see here in the beginning, Pride, he is split up, but there's terrain in the wave, so even though Cinkrof tries to goes onto him, the rest of the members can't really join, and it's just the cards and the arrow that he's not able to dodge. Really nicely done from the side of Bean, who finds that arrow together with the wild cards from Deo, who usually doesn't get a kill like that.
It's very rare you see the wild cards, but that's why they're called the wild cards. You do not know what you're going to get sometimes. And now back to even Stevens, but more important, look at that damage coming out from Pride. Good lord, that was it. That was a hell of a chunky boy.
Yeah, this is Pride that has been allowed to actually flourish in the laning phase. Pride that hasn't been put behind. Yes, he's still down in CS, but once he gets in towards these team fights, once he gets to be a nuisance in a team fight on a big Gnar like this, that's where we start to see the damage stackering up, and especially in terrain like that we just saw them fighting.
The big thing now as we move forward into the next 3.5 minutes, or 4 minutes, excuse me, Karmine Corp have to contest around this dragon. That is a guarantee you have for Fnatic Rising. So Fnatic Rising, they can use that information. They can play with it a little bit and say, look, as long as we get ourselves on the objective first, we control the pace.
Definitely, because even with a Varus and Infernal Soul, you already know that's bad. But then you got like the rapid fire cannon with a stun card, or a blue card even, that's just gonna completely blow you up, and then you don't even have to take a team fight as Fnatic. So for Corp right now, you can see they're trying to find places elsewhere on the map where they can attack. Up towards the top side, Cinkrof is shadowing SAKEN, but the rest of Fnatic, they don't care about this now. They're just playing 2 lanes instead of the 3.
Targamas thought about taking that pink ward, or that site where the vision ward, did not want to go for it in the end, but they are moving their vision up towards this top side, trying to just cover out Pride, who will be going mega very, very soon, so shouldn't be falling down any time in the next few moments, but being very happy to stay in this mid lane. He can just keep clearing these waves, throw out the piercing arrows, got enough auto attack damage at this point now, even just with the upgraded Muramana. And they're fine with this. Fnatic Rising, despite a slightly risky, or rocky, I should say, early game, definitely coming out on top considering they prioritize the objectives.
You're completely right. Resets are going to have to come through now from the side of Fnatic. They haven't backed in a while. They want the mythics, and because of this, Corp, they are allowed some extra breathing room on the map where they get to at least take out the top side of the map here with the first turret in the top side. But I think Penguin, this is the place where we earlier today asked, what does Fnatic do once they get to the mid-game again? What do they do now where they have a lead? Well, it's not even a lead, really. It feels like a lead because of how the team fights. They have dragons, and the pressure is on Corp to try and contest them. So this is where I want to see, how do they play this? When do they overextend, or do they not actually overextend this time? Because all you have to do right now is just take it chill. You have 2 minutes until Infernal Drake is live on the map, and that's just a big objective you have to play for.
Not only that, all summoners will be available for that. You'll have all flashes, all teleports, all options available to you, and it's all about how you execute. Now, again, Fnatic, we might be hyping this up, but Fnatic Rising, they don't even have to go for it. They might just see, cool, we get a tier 2 or two tier 2s, we'll go for that trade, no problem whatsoever. They do not have to go for this 4th Drake. They can, and that will force Karmine Corp towards them, but if they're not feeling comfortable, they don't have to go for it.
Yeah, you're completely right about that. And once again, Fnatic Rising and Corp, they're just splitting the map up every time. Targamas flashing forward.
Oh, they're going to go in and try and catch him out. He does not have a real way out, but the teleport has come down. Cinkrof will use himself the Cataclysm to try and delay this retreat. They go in with a Solar Flare and the Zenith Blade, but Dajor is the target, and Dajor has been taken down. They're trying to get the Heartbreakers, but a 2-man knockup onto the top, and Jungler means that Karmine Corp have all the answers. Beam Karmine is dead. Nothing he can do. Double kill for SAKEN, and it's all gone wrong. They went for the aggressive pick and they got punished.
It's happening again, Fnatic. Do you not learn? Corp coming through with the aggression. Once again, finding a man advantage in this fight. And Dajor, who's immobile, who only have the flash to work around with, isolated from the rest of its team, with Pride joining the fight way later with the TV. You didn't have to go for anything. There's a timer in your left-hand corner that said 30 seconds until sold. This is what you really wanted to fight for.
Well, have a look. Again, like you said, this is just, they try to go for Targamas. Not the target you want to be going for, and they just overextend.
And I understand the idea. Targamas hex flashing forward, going forward, but as soon as MAXI misses the CC chain, you back up, and Dajor pathing up towards the top side while the rest is trying to go out the entrance, down to the right, down to the rest of the team, completely splits up the team fight, where on one front you have MAXI and Rhuckz, and towards the bottom half you have Bean and Pride not able to take a team fight. You're just picking a fight one by one with the blue wall of Corp.
Blue wall is getting ever bigger and ever stronger. It is huge now with this Baron. We are going to see the TP committed, but you're too late. You can't contest this one now. And now you might actually have a bit of a fight in favor of Karmine Corp. Good frozen, gold card into Everfrost. I kept thinking Frozen Domain, and I was like, that's Trundle. And then thankfully, nothing happened, and I didn't fumble that. But at the end of the day, Karmine Corp, they get themselves a dragon. They're now pushing into the mid lane. They're going to be able to put down a lot of damage, and there's just not really a lot you can do here for Fnatic Rising during this Baron buff.
No, you're completely right about that. And now it's on Corp to try and play the map. Here you can see Cabochard down towards the bottom, stacking up these Baron minions, SAKEN up towards the top side, and all you have to do as Corp right now is just keep the mid lane shoved in, force a response from Fnatic Rising that enables your side laners, and then when you see too many members grouped up in the mid lane, you start collapsing, you start to work around with the pressure that you have built on the map.
And this is Karmine Corp and what they love to do. They have control. They are the ones that are going to be able to start these fights, and we've seen it twice now in this series. You can't out-team fight the blue wall. If you're just going to run at the blue wall wins. That's how a wall works. But for the side of Fnatic Rising, they do have opportunities if they can catch people out. They have to be careful though. Rhuckz gets jumped on and he's going to be taken down very, very low. They will put down a lot of damage on the Targamas, who does have the Haymaker shield and keep himself alive. xMatty thought about going forward, but Dajor was around, so they don't want to commit too much to that play. Ends up just being a trade of health bars. Everyone backs away. A couple of ultimates burned.
Yeah, there we go, but there's still a lot of the jungle being taken away from them right now. MAXI is soloing out the red buff. Towards the bottom side, you have nothing else either, so it's all these resources that's just being taken away from you. And right now, objective for Corp is, all right, we're just going to keep splitting the map. We're going to make sure that they cannot go for this all-out team fight where they can get the reset for MAXI still, where they still have Pride in a mecha to play for. But if you're never allowed to go for this, it's going to be very hard to play for Fnatic.
You have 3 items now onto SAKEN. Yes, it is equaled out for Dajor, but Dajor is for lack of a better term, he's a stun bot. He's not really built to be dealing with people 1v1. He's there for utility for his team and his ultimate. You have 3 items on the Ryze. That's terrifying.
Definitely, but crucially now for Dajor is that he has picked up this Sonya's Hourglass. So every time someone is going for him, he can bait it into an overextension where someone jumps on him, they CC chain him with the Varus, with the Leona, with the Viego, with all the tools you have in the Gnar as well. But it's very rare occasions where you're also relying on Corp to go for one of these overextensions. And right now, they're just walking around as a team, clearing out the vision to once again set up this map where they can just play 2 lanes.
The TP coming in, actually, it's going to be Destiny Game right on top of xMatty, who has to use the cleanse immediately. Now, TP in response, that's going to be SAKEN jumping himself into the middle of the team. Not exactly the one you want there. There's going to be the Cataclysm going down on top of Rhuckz, and Dajor's caught between a rock and a hard place. But this is a very split fight. It's very skirmish heavy. Cinkrof is down, and he's got himself the reset. He's got himself some CC to come in. Targamas has to flash away. He knew if he goes down and that soul goes over to the side, oh, Fnatic Rising, they're screwed. But Cabochard takes the realm up, gets stunned up immediately. He's going to keep himself alive and healing. But no Mega Gnar for you! Pride, get the hell out of my team! That was beautiful from Targamas.
And MAXI is flashing forward. They're not even done, and it's so close for Pride. He was 1 second off going into mecha. It's such a huge ultimate from Targamas. Again and again, he just shuts down the engage.
Fantastic team fighting, and again, we are seeing Karmine Corp just show how damn good they are this. However, Karmine Corp cannot break the base just yet. They're gonna push in for turrets, get some pressure around this dragon that is spawning in just over a minute.
Yeah, but how mad is Capo as well? He was half HP, going in alone, into that realm warp, gets stun carded off, and you know what? We'll just get a replay of it to take a look how it all unfolded once again. So MAXI, he does get caught out by this gold cut, which forces out once again the cleanse. But now Fnatic, they get put into this split position where 3 of them is stuck here. Dajor is stuck in the terrain of the Cataclysm, right up towards the top side, only now joining the fight. But while he is joining the fight and while MAXI are getting resets, the damage is just not consistent enough and they can't keep it going. And this is where the crucial moment happens. Capo alone just jumps in, stays alive it, and there you said it. Watch Targamas, because as soon as Pride is almost by that mecha form, he gets shut down. MAXI flashes in to seal the deal, and it's just all K-Corp all the way.
Well, it is Fnatic Rising, and they need a death in a brush. So they are going for the Fnatic death brush right now. They're seeing if anyone from Karmine Corp walks a little bit too close to where they're all standing in front of. There's no vision for Fnatic Rising, thank you very much, but even more so, there's no vision for Karmine Corp. They know something's up. There's the Destiny Gate. Do they look to try and push for this? Pride has been spotted out. You still have Twisted Fate now with no TP, or sorry, he has TP, but is going to use the Destiny Gate now to push himself back in. That mid lane is still pushing in front of him. And that's going to be mid lane pressure in favor of Karmine Corp. They could go for the push here. They could end up going for the end if they wanted to. They don't have to fight around this dragon.
Look at Rhuckz, look at Rhuckz. He's trying to go for flank here as well, but he's spotted out by Vision. And once again, they're so split on Fnatic, while K-Corp right now, there's still 5 members, but now Hex Flash is over, and this could still be an all-on 5v5 for the Drake.
Here we go. Important to know, xMatty does not have cleanse, nor does he have flash. He cannot be as aggressive as he wants to. Now, Dragon, 3,000 HP. MAXI and Bean trying to just take this one down as quick as they can. There's the dominance. They're going to put the gold card down. They take it. There's the soul. Now, does the fight go in your favor? The Varus is dead. Cabochard will walk away with his life. The Leona is gone. There's the stun card on the SAKEN, but you're rooted. There's nowhere for you to go. And yes, you get the soul, but you've lost everything and everyone. No one will be left alive apart from MAXI, who's on the other side of the map.
They get it, but they can't get the fight following up afterwards. They've spent too many resources trying to secure it, while K-Corp, they know they can just turn for the team fight. They have the gold lead to facilitate it. And once again, running down this mid lane, still 10 seconds on beat. MAXI's alive, but can he stop this?
He's had to get in his base got reset by minions, so he's actually a little bit more delayed. He can't do it. There's no way he can stop this. It's him and Rhuckz. We've been here before, and that is game 2 to Karmine Corp.
Oh, and once again, it goes well from Fnatic until it doesn't. They just can't keep that mid game going. And K-Corp, they're relentless.
You just can't run into a blue wall like that. You have to. We've seen early game aggression in game 1. Doesn't work out. Karmine Corp able to team fight out of it. We see tempered, calm, composed, look for the slight advantages, don't give up anything. Doesn't matter. Karmine Corp get the team fight advantages. And again, I'm sorry to say it, you got to change something up. You got to change something now for Fnatic Rising. You're 2-0 down.
Yeah, but the thing is, usually when we say that, we're talking about, okay, let's change something up in the draft. It's not a draft issue. If anything for Fnatic, I think they should stop playing 3 lanes. They should focus more on playing these 2 lanes, keep themselves shadowed, so they can actually answer this aggression coming out from K-Corp, because this 5 seconds you need to TP a member in, that's 5 seconds too late. K-Corp, they've shut down a member and they take the fight.
Yeah, they really do. Well, K-Corp now on the cusp of history. They take a 2-0 lead. And we're going to send it to a break, but when we return, the analyst desk and a very elated Laure will be breaking down game 2.
Gonna flash in, and he steals the bird! How did that connect by Edgeway? Finish! As EU Masters Champions!
Welcome back to our Berlin studio. They run it back and K-Corp do it again. But this time around, it feels like Fnatic Rising couldn't do much. I mean, we were wondering how the early game would go for each team, but it feels like it's either over-aggression from Fnatic or just nothing at all. And when it's nothing at all, well, you don't come back with that against K-Corp.
We technically said, well, I was like, I'd be more than happy seeing Fnatic run it back, the exact same composition. Their early game was fantastic. And Fnatic were like, we're going to run it back, but the only thing we're going to change is our early game. We're going to do absolutely nothing. And of course, I have to give major props to Karmine Corp because they didn't give them an inch to make a single move. Cabochard was 24/7 underneath his tower. Around him was always Cinkrof. Targamas, I don't think xMatty knew what his support looked like, apart from this particular game where Targamas was sticking bot lane, making sure that xMatty was not going to get dived. Dajor on that Twisted Fate, I don't think he had a lot of success roaming around the map like he did in game one. And I felt like that was my concern from the start, right? I'm like, if you run it back, Karmine Corp knew exactly what you did, and they're not going to allow it. And indeed, they did not allow anything.
Yeah, I think that was one of the biggest things here for me was my worry that Fnatic Rising would basically take the same composition. Karmine Corp are prepared for the early game, and then we come in towards these later team fights where Karmine Corp are just enacting better. And we get to see this fight here at the 13-minute mark where great bait mate, I suppose, 8 out of 8 for Cabochard because he went real deep here, but they managed to find the win anyway. And then we get these later fights where I thought, okay, Fnatic Rising are coming back into this. They're starting to get control. But again, it's their mid to late game decision making that's really letting them down throughout this series.
Yeah, and before starting this series, we saw that both teams had like a very high percentage of win when they have an advantage before 15. It didn't go Fnatic Rising's way in game one, but here in game two, you can just see how powerful K-Corp can be, and when they have an advantage, they just don't let it go.
Yeah, and I feel like there's nerves coming in from Fnatic Rising because in game one they came in with the ballsy plays, they were willing to make the moves, and yes, even though some of these moves might have been called as throws, you would still make that extra step to try and take something from your opponent. And I felt like nerves came in harder in game number two because they were like, oh shoot, if we do make a mistake, Karmine Corp are going to take it all away, to the point where I don't think Fnatic Rising ever got the gold lead, and they should have with this particular composition in the early game. Again, xMatty on that Ezreal, he has been left unchecked over and over again in both games. Something needs to happen for that.
Yeah, close to be a flat line though from the first 10 to 15 minutes. Dagda, I want to ask, when you have a composition like this from the side of Fnatic Rising, what can you do to come back?
Yeah, I mean, one of the big things that you need to try and or at least get down to have this composition operate is going to be those side lane turrets, right? You want to be able to try and open up the map, use this Twisted Fate, especially against the Ryze, the fact you've got more ground you can cover faster. So take down 2 side lanes, try and use that Twisted Fatal to collapse in on mid lane and have that numbers advantage. But unfortunately, you only got that top lane tower going down for Fnatic Rising, and then they started to stumble. We saw that 13-minute fight where they weren't able to get themselves back in shape. The tempo advantage went over in favor of Karmine Corp, and when you're playing this style of composition that Fnatic Rising are, if you lose that tempo advantage on the map, it's very difficult to try and get it back, especially if Karmine Corp are doing a good job of avoiding picks.
Looking back at the composition again and the pick order from the side of KC, first pick Jarvan once again, which shows how confident they are into this pick. But I just want you to explain me maybe how pivotal this Jarvan 4 pick was this time around again for K-Corp.
Yeah, I think it was absolutely massive. So one of the big things that I wanted to look at was like the way these compositions like to operate in a 1-3-1 is playing out through side lanes and avoiding the big engage tools that are going to come through on the opposite side. And this was actually a wonderful setup coming through for Fnatic Rising on this play. So the first thing I want to do is, if I can find the HUD button, which I'm already lost on. Where's my, oh, here it is, HUD zoom. So one of the big things I want to look at is, right, if you look down on this bottom side, we've got the recall coming through from Cabo here. If it's going to pop up for me, maybe. Okay, well, Cabo's down on the bottom side here. We've also got Pride here who has TP. And one of the big things to watch out for is Pride is already about to hit Mega Gnar. This guy is about to come in. And as you can see here, I want to highlight this ward, because this ward for me is one of the big ones. I'll maybe just do a freehand. There we go. is one of the big ones for me, because when I look towards the Gnar, I'm like, right, we've got this play that's about to come through this little bush here. You're going to see everyone start to roam through just down into this spot here. And when you've got that Mega Gnar TP ward, that is prime real estate coming through for Fnatic Rising. I thought this was going to be a phenomenal play. But as we start to play the clip forward, what you're going to see is we get the idea of engaging coming through from Dajor, right? We get that TP pop, Targamas is overextended, and now watch, all right? You can actually see already, Targamas is stunned here. I needed to see that TP come through from Gnar directly onto this ward. Because what you can have then is you've got this real good spot here for the Gnar to step into this position. He backs off from xMatty and Cinkrof. You can take these really big Gnar ults, or you can just force Karmine Corp completely away from the play. You have Rhuckz and MAXI who can completely go on towards the Sett just here, and you set yourself up perfectly. But watch how long it takes for Pride to TP. He has Mega Gnar, as you can see already right now, he has that Mega Gnar. But because he's not actually TP'd to the play goes on, it goes on, and we'll stop this again. Watch where his TP is. Smack bang into the middle of the lane. He's no longer near this fight, which means that as this play starts to roll on, it's 4 versus 5. Because you've had Bean completely taken out of the picture as well, he's been forced to run away because the Jarvan, and we get this massive Jarvan collapse on towards the mid lane, or on towards the main part of the fight. And it means that then when you're as Fnatic Rising, you're completely separated. Bean has got to respect the Jarvan ult, he's got to respect the big engage, the long range engage this Jarvan can be. As you play it the rest of the fight, you'll see he's completely out of the picture. Karmine Corp deal with the top side of the map. Finally, Pride shows up right as the round warp comes through to finish out this play. And it was one of the big issues that we saw on this entire play, was just that we didn't have the members in the right place to try and follow up on what was set up really nicely for Fnatic Rising.
Yeah, but it makes everything so much harder when you have the threat coming from the Jarvan, also the Renekton that we see behind me, and it makes me wonder if these champions, we're gonna ban them for the next game. Fnatic Rising chose blue side this time around, so they're looking to get a specific first pick.
Specifically, I kept thinking, I'm like, we saw a clip in the pregame where Dajor destroys Set's LeBlanc. Leave the LeBlanc open, deal with it. You have the tools, you've got the silences, you've got the twisted fates, you've got the tools to deal with it. Ban the Ryze, ban the Jarvan, leave both listeners in open and see what happens, see how Karmine Corp replies, because I felt like the drafts so far from Fnatic Rising are stellar, the replies are stellar. They always have what it takes when it comes out of the draft to make all their players feel comfortable. And I'm like, running it back just like this without using your strongest early game, you have to completely scrap it all and start again with a completely different draft, get the Jarvan out of there, get the Ryze out of there.
Yeah, time for a reset, and it's do or die from Fnatic Rising as K-Corp take it to match point. We'll see if the Analysts can turn it around after the break.
Gonna flash in, and he steals the Baron! How does that connect by Edgeway?
As EU Masters Champions.